Today is another bonus episode. I talked to Dylan Cala. He fights for Valor. He is fighting again March 18th at Valor Fights 41. It is going to air live on Flow Combat. He's taking on Christopher Wright, and this is at bantamweight. So, good interview. I like this kid a lot. Another one of these ones. I'd never heard of him. I'd never heard his name before. I'm glad I got a chance to talk to him because I started looking into him and watching the fights. And yeah, he's great. Good interview. Hopefully this kid can go far. So I hope you enjoy the interview. Please go check him out. Go follow him on Twitter. He'll tell you where to find him at. Go support these guys in this regional scene. They need our support, and let's try to get them, where they want to go with their life. So enjoy the episode.
I'm Dylan Cala, and you're listening to the LoudMouth MMA podcast.
You got a gun, got a big gun, got a gun. It's not a real.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the LoudMouth MMA podcast. Today, another bonus episode. I am talking to Dylan Cala. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing Cala correct. Pretty sure that's how you say it. That's how you say it, correct?
That's it, man.
All right, Dylan, how's it going, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Normally I give you more of an introduction, but since I had to make sure I was pronouncing your name correctly, it's kind of a running thing on this show. I'm sure you're not an avid listener, but if you were, you would know that I am horrible at pronouncing names. And I'll do this thing where so there's two things. One, I'll practice a name over and over and over again, and I'll get on, I'll go, all right, I got it. So I'll just keep saying it over and over again. And I'm like, all right, I got it. And then I hit record, and I immediately mess it up. So that's the one thing I do.
And you get on and still butcher it.
Yep. And then the second thing I do, when I'm doing my breakdowns, I will write down the name phonetically, right? So I'll write it down how it sounds. And I'll still mess it up. It's just a thing that I do. I don't know why. It's just a thing that I do. I'm horrible with names. It kind of just is what it is.
Sometimes I got it.
Right? So, but let's get to know you, Dylan. A lot of people probably don't know who you are yet. You have a 4-1 professional record. You're very, very young, 23. We were just talking before this started. I had a 22-year-old on the other day. Actually, just posted that episode right now. So if you're listening to it, go back and listen to the Jordan Young episode. He's a real young middleweight. He just had his first fight in Bellator. Great guy. Really enjoyed talking to him. But anyway, real young. I mean, goodness, you guys are starting younger and younger and younger. What I like about you, though, is you had a lot of amateur fights, which I think is good. I think people rush through the amateur circuit really quickly. Was that intentional? Was that intentional? Did you have management that was saying, or your gym saying, like, hey, let's take a bunch of fights, take your time?
No, not really, man. I got into it. In North Carolina, where I'm from, you have to be 18 legally to fight. So as soon as I turned 18, I took my first amateur fight, and I had fought. I had a couple of fights. I ended up having a couple of injuries. I had to deal with a couple of injuries that I had prior to even starting fighting. So I had to get them repaired, and it sat me down for a while. I was out for 9 months, and then I came back and had another fight. I was out for another 9 or 12 months. So I was kind of had a lot of off time in my amateur career. So I kind of my fights were I had 3 or 4 fights and had an injury, 3 or 4 fights and an injury. So I kind of just came back, and I'd always planned on being pro a lot sooner, and but shit happens sometimes, so I took it as it came. And, got some good experiences with amateur fights, and now I'm just trying to run through these guys at the professional level.
Very cool. But yeah, that's good. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's good. It's that much more experience. And, obviously amateur fights are kind of odd. You can't really put too much stock in them, especially if you're doing research on someone. You can't really take too much stock in amateur fights. But what I like to see is when someone's had quite a few of them. And like you said, you took some time off in between.
Time in the cage.
Yeah, and not jumping in too early and kind of getting a chance to experiment. So that's good. And again, you're young. So you had your first amateur fight in 2012, and you're 22.
Yeah.
So how old were you then? I'm not good at math on the fly.
Yeah, I was 18. I had my first fight when I was 18. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I turned 18 in March that year. I think I had my first fight maybe December or something like that. I can't remember the exact dates, but I just turned 18. I was just legal to fight.
Wow. And you got a very quick knockout on that one. You made short time of your debut.
Yeah, I grew up wrestling, and I kind of just, I went out there and just kind of let him fly and caught the guy and put him down.
Very cool. So the last fight you had, you fought in the USFFC, which is something that I am not familiar with. So tell our listeners, where is that out of? What does that stand for? You fought a couple fights there.
USFFC was, I believe it was United States Freedom Fighter Championships. It was a promotion locally. It was a North Carolina, South Carolina promotion. They're pretty close to my hometown, so I had done my last couple of pro fights. So I actually won my last amateur fight. I won their amateur title, and did a couple of professional fights. So they were really good promotion. They were close to home, so I was able to bring my fans and my following there quite a bit. So I had we were usually in the Greenville, Spartanburg area with the last couple of fights. So I did. I had maybe two or three fights for USFC, and they were recently bought out by NFC, an Atlanta-based company. So, I was kind of in the market for a fight, and I don't think the company that bought out USFC wasn't doing a show for a while. So I was kind of in the market to find a fight, and Valor contacted me, and had always heard good things about him. So they offered me a good fight. We went through negotiation, and kind of terms where we both wanted, where both sides wanted them. So jumped right in with them.
Absolutely, and that's good. You brought up Valor on your own because that's our next step here. You are making your you're making your debut in Valor, which is great. It is. You're absolutely correct, man. It is a great promotion.
I'm invading Valor.
Yes, I've had some good experience with them in the past. I've definitely enjoyed the cards they've put on. So this is Valor 41. Let me make sure I get the date right. Let our listeners know. Valor 41 looks like it kicks off on March 18th. Is that accurate? Or I got accurate information? Yep. All right.
That's it, March 18th.
And it's also airing live on Flow Combat, which is great. That's great. That's I do pay for the Flow Combat. It's really not that expensive. Man,
Flow Combat is awesome, man. I can't the things they're doing for the sport.
I know, man. Especially wrestling. I mean, I'm not a wrestler. I'm not any. I have no type of fighting background at all. Certainly not in wrestling. Although I do come from a high school was a really big wrestling high school. I never wrestled, but it's just really big. It's Ohio. What
was the school?
Bellbrook High School. It's a really small.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
It's a really small school, but we've had we've had 4 or 5 state champions just from.
Yeah, Ohio is known for having really good wrestling, man.
Yeah.
I and Flow Wrestling. I've been I've been a member, and I've been on Flow Wrestling my whole life, kind of growing up. So I've been kind of known of Flow for a long time, and then as I started getting into MMA, they started covering the USFFC. So, I seen, Flow Combat. I was like, man, it was crazy because, a lot of these regional scenes don't get much exposure, besides the access shows, the Legacy and shows like that. So with Flow Combat coming around now, they've done such a good job of promoting these regional fights and, getting guys seen. And, I can't say enough things about how much they're doing for the sport.
Yeah, and people complain a lot, man. I don't know why. I mean, well, I know why, because people just complain a lot in general. It doesn't really matter what it's about. People are constantly complaining about something or another. But people complain a lot about how much Flow Combat costs. And honestly, man, it's really not that bad. And you got to think about what they're doing, not only for MMA, but they have the grappling stuff and just what they've done for wrestling. They're the only promotion, as far as I'm aware, the only kind of website that's dedicated to wrestling. That's really not a thing. I mean, that's really not a thing that we have.
For those people that say the membership is too much, they need to get to see if they can get a little sample on March 18th, and they'll change their minds.
There you go. See, I agree. You're gonna miss out on these cards, and I'm telling you, that's why I'm glad that Fight Pass started picking up some of these too. Fight Pass started picking up.
Good job with that, also.
Yeah, what they pick up? They picked up Titan FC. Obviously, they've had Invicta for a while now. They just picked up that promotion out of Alaska. I want to say it's called what's it called?
AFC or something like that. They're doing quite a bit of promotions, I believe.
Yeah, they've picked up quite a few, and they keep picking them up, and I think Flow Combat's going to keep picking them up. You talked about Access TV. Obviously, got Boss Rutan over there doing his thing. Yeah, he's on. He does the stuff on Access, AXS, but it's pronounced Access. One of my favorite kind of regional quote promotions is CES, and they're on Access. I love CES. I think they're
they do
great.
Access. Yeah, I've heard. I had a buddy fought for them maybe last year, so he said really good things of the promotion.
I love it, man. I think they're great.
They treated the guys really well.
Yeah, I've had anyone I've talked to from there, both privately and publicly, have all said great things. So that's hard, man, because there are a lot of kind of shady promotions. So it's good if you can get involved in a good one.
Definitely.
Yeah. And Valor's
one of them, man. It can be a shady business if you're not on top of your shit.
Yeah, right. So this will be kind of the biggest. This will be probably. Do you think this will be the biggest fight you've had so far? I mean, is that probably in front of the biggest crowd, maybe?
Yeah, probably. I don't know, numbers wise, how many they do number wise, but I mean, I've performed at at high levels my whole life, and I've wrestled it on the national and international level, so I've performed in big crowds before. Nothing that's new to me. I think maybe fight wise, it's maybe the biggest venue. I don't know how many people will be there, but the more the merrier for me. I thrive in the spotlight, and the more people, the happier for me.
No, well, yeah, for sure. Right, the more people you can get in, the more money you can make down the line too. Yeah, exactly. So you got to keep getting those names.
Them in. Let's go.
Yeah, right.
Line them up.
So you have fought at because I'm not looking at this exact card. You've fought between 145 and 135. You've kind of fluctuated your whole career, it looks like. This particular fight at Valor 41, is it featherweight or bantamweight?
No, this is a bantamweight. I'm a bantamweight. I usually, just prefer to fight a bantamweight. I've had a couple of fights in my professional career where we were supposed to fight at bantamweight, and then a week or two out, they changed their mind. So, I figured I would have just went with the flow and went up to featherweight for a couple of fights. But my team, wants to stick to bantamweight now, and I don't, featherweight is pretty much no cut for me. So it's just kind of me walking in the cage and doing my thing, which I don't mind sometimes, but I'm much more comfortable at bantamweight. That's where I want to be. That's where I plan on winning my world title at.
Right, and that's where obviously you probably have the biggest advantage. Of course, getting the weight off of your body and.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, just more frame wise with everybody else.
Yeah, definitely. And now your opponent. I know his last name is Wright, but that's about all I know about him. Kind of tell me about him. Have you got a chance to look into him at all?
That's about all I know about him, too.
Are we both in the same boat?
Yeah, I know. No, his name's Chris Wright. He's been around the game for a while. He's fought for from high-level promotion. He's been around for a long time. I don't know. I've seen a couple of his videos. Not much. He fights for a good team. I think he trains out at Rufus Sports. So, he trains with a good team. Should be well prepared. Like I said, he's got good experience. He's been around fighting for a while. So, I'm sure he's prepared. I'm sure he's, going to come in ready to fight. But he's, I'm just going out there to prove that, he's out on my level. Nothing against the guy, but I'm going out there to dominate him and finish him. And it doesn't matter to me whether he wants to give up his neck and I take it, or he makes a mistake and drops his hands and I clip his chin and put him to bed. Either way, I'm going to go out there and dominate him and finish him.
Yeah, it looks like if I'm looking at the same Chris Wright, it looks like he has kind of shown some chin issues. So that's interesting.
I think he's got a pretty even record. I can't remember. He's got maybe 9-6 record or something like that. He's a good, decent guy. He does well on the scene, on the regional scene, and hasn't done much better on the next level. But where Chris Wright stops and his potential stops, that's where I start. So I'm looking to just go out there and put it on Chris and move on to the next one.
Absolutely,
it wouldn't matter to me if Chris pulled out tomorrow and it was someone else. Either way, I'm going to go in there and put on my show, and March 18th is my night, no matter who it is.
Absolutely, and that's the right attitude to have. And what gym do you train out of then?
I train at Gym O. It's in Gastonia, North Carolina. So it's a new gym. We just recently kind of to start up and running. My head coach is Jeff Jimmo. He's the best coach in the world.
I'm trying to think, because I just had Wonder Boy on a couple days ago. Is he from North Carolina or South Carolina? Simpsonville is where he's from.
Yeah, he's South Carolina. Yeah, that's
South Carolina.
Yeah, he's from Simpsonville, South Carolina. Not too far down the road, though.
Yeah, I was about to say, I definitely am one of those people that gets North Carolina and South Carolina confused. Although I've been to both, and I remember thinking that they both were, like, dramatically different. You know,
yeah,
like...
I'm not really. I've been in North Carolina for a while, but I'm not from there. So I always say North Carolina and South Carolina is the same to me, but I guess people from there don't take too kindly to that.
Right?
They think North and South Carolina is different sides of the planet.
Yeah, and you're originally from Tennessee, correct?
No, I'm originally from New York. I lived in New York for a couple of years, and I lived in Indiana for a couple of years, and then I've kind of been all over the place. Originally born in New York, but I grew up most of my time in North Carolina.
I say, why was I thinking Tennessee? Oh, it's because I was just looking at Chris Wright, and he went to the University of Tennessee.
Yeah, Chris Wright is from Tennessee, I believe.
There you go.
He's a Valor boy. I'm going into his backyard to take his bone.
That's good. I like that. That's the first time I've heard that. That's good. I've been talking to a bunch of guys who get ready to fight in Brazil against Brazilians. So we've been talking a lot about how that's going to feel. I'm like, they both were like, I can't wait, because they're like, we're going to get booed. Like they're gonna, because in Brazil, that's no joke, man. Like,
yeah, they go crazy over that shit.
Yeah, dude. If you're not Brazilian, they hate you. I mean, good Lord. I mean, you got to have a guard on you the whole time. I mean, they'll try to kill you. I mean, they want nothing to do with you.
They're putting on a good show and they love you, though.
Exactly. See, that's what it all comes down to. So you're in the guy's backyard, but you put on a show, they're gonna love you, man. They're gonna love you.
I'm coming to take over the Tennessee fans here pretty soon.
I love it, man. Well, alrighty.
Taking over the world.
Hey, I agree. I mean, so kind of, you are kind of angling to go to the UFC, I assume. That's definitely on your radar, I'd imagine.
Most definitely. UFC world title is in my future.
Man, I like it, and we could use some more bantamweights. I mean, it's a good division as is, but we could use some more over in the UFC. So, any young.
Definitely. It's a growing division. These guys.
Yes.
Everyone's getting better. Everyone's starting to evolve, and the game of MMA is just changing. It's so much different than it was just a couple of years ago. But I bring something to the table that a lot of these guys don't, and I'm ready to prove that on the world stage.
Absolutely. All right, well, plug away. Let us know where to find you on social media. I got to find you on social media, so let me know where to find you. Let our listeners know where to find you. You already plugged your gym, but feel free to do it again. Management team, whoever you want to plug, man, the floor is yours.
Yeah, definitely, man. Follow the gym on Instagram. It's at Gym, GYM_O 704. My Instagram and Twitter is Cala_zone, CALA_ZONE. See, that's Instagram and Twitter. Facebook, you just search my name, Dylan Cala. You can find me on there. I think it's Facebook.com/Dylan Cala 135, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, there we go. And look at that. As you were doing that, I found you and I followed you. So, boom. Look at that. That's how easy it is, guys.
I appreciate it, man.
That's how easy it is, guys. You just type it in. It took me 3 seconds. So, go do it. All right. Well, it was a blast talking to you. Dude, good luck, man. I will be watching you in real time. I'll be watching you on Flow Combat. So, again, let's plug it. Right, Valor 41. You are headlining. That's something I did not mention. Let me mention that now. You are headlining.
Main event.
You and Wright are headlining it. Valor 41. It is March 18th, and you can watch it live on Flow Combat. Dylan.
Yes, sir. Flow Combat.
Thank you for talking to me, man. It was a blast.
Yes, sir. Bring him a pillow. Chris Wright's going to sleep.
There you go. All right. We'll see you then.
Right, talk to you later, man. Appreciate it, buddy.
Hey, bye.
Sunshine, it feels like sunshine.
The host of the LoudMouth MMA podcast, Kyle Steele, executive producer and head of marketing, Philip Herman. Today's episode was mixed by Danny Adams, myself. Special thanks to the MMA Prophet, Sean I. Has, Dave Madden, Keith from the MMA Takeover, the Harmony Acres Soap Company, and the Voball. To learn more about the LoudMouth MMA podcast, please visit loudmouthmma.com.